I call my initial calls with my prospects a date. We're just dating, just trying to figure out who you are, who I am. You cannot maintain quality of service when you give unlimited of something. It's just not possible.
Sometimes people do think that as soon as you bring marketing into the fray, you just turn the tap on and it works magically.
Anyone or any of our clients that is either disrespectful or not respectful of our employees will be fired.
You're the first guest that we've had that said that they meditate on a daily basis. I think that's brilliant.
But there's always something to learn. There's always something to learn.
Welcome to the podcast From Cold to Close. My name is Saeed. I'm the founder here at SRC Growth Partner, a growth company that works with professional services firms from around the world to increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. My guest today is Jacob Ouaknine, managing partner of M6iT, a New York-based IT consulting firm that's been redefining technology services for over 13 years. Jacob runs what he calls a fine dining experience in the IT world. While most managed service providers promise unlimited support, Jacob's firm takes an unconventional approach to MSP by offering flexibility, transparency to their clients without long-term contractual commitments. With over 100 clients and an incredible retention rate, M6iT has cracked the code on sustainable growth without sacrificing service quality. M6iT operates as a true advisory firm, helping clients buy technology directly, then managing it for maximum productivity. Jacob, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Saeed. Thank you very much. I loved your intro. Couldn't have said it better, to be honest.
I'm only telling the audience what I know of you and what you've said in the past, so absolutely, that is who you are. For all those, I guess the best place to start with any podcast is really understanding who the guest is, especially for our viewers and listeners out there. So in a few words, are you able to share a bit more about yourself, your journey to where you are, and a bit more about the role you play within M6iT?
Sure. I was born in Morocco, actually.
Oh, wow.
And moved to the US in 1997. I went through my journey in the US education-wise, reborn a New Yorker, actually, which is kind of interesting. So I've been here for quite some time. But I had different roles in my career. Each and every one of them has been a learning experience in different industries, different segments. And I started M6 about 13 years ago because I got tired of seeing what our clients at the time were going through and with certain vendors. And I figured, you know what, I can do better. I think I can deliver better, create an environment that is most trustworthy, especially in the tech environment. And I started M6. It's been a beautiful experience for me, learning experience overall. I've learned a lot. There's a lot of failures, of course, learned from them. And quite honestly, today, every day when I get up, I just enjoy the fact that I have trusted clients, people that trust us really. This is really important in our business. People that feel comfortable and happy to work at M6 as well, that have the same feeling that our clients have. And while we're in a boutique, we tend to have a very large client portfolio. And it's very surprising. It's very surprising to see that many people think that we're this giant firm, but really we're in the mid-size and we just deliver. And that's what people really love about us. And I just enjoy seeing my clients happy and trusting us for their businesses.
I love what you said there just a moment ago about the reason why you started M6iT and the fact that you saw a problem and you told yourself, I can do it better. There's a problem here. I can go away and I can do it. And that's often the case with most entrepreneurs, most business owners. They see something, they see it being inefficient or something not being the way that they deem it should be. And they go, okay, well, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And you're going to go out and you're going to take a lot of risk and deal with a lot of failure to go ahead and pursue an idea that you had based off of your experience. And I absolutely love that side of the journey, always hearing, and it's so common amongst entrepreneurs hearing that as well. But you mentioned there that you're a boutique firm that seems much larger than that you actually are. You've got a large client portfolio, but you've previously mentioned that you, and I mentioned it at the top of the podcast, you provide a fine dining experience for your customers, right? Comparing your service to fine dining versus all-you-can-eat buffet, can you elaborate on what it means in practice for IT consultants?
Sure. So M6 is really, we have transitioned our company from your typical MSP model to what we call today a tech stack management firm that focuses on the baseline of all of the technologies a client might need. And instead of really kind of putting the client in a cookie cutter environment and really isolating them with the technologies that an MSP would push on them, our approach is very simple. We try to understand the model of the client. We let them own the technologies. We let them own all of the products. We implement them, manage them, secure them, and maintain them onward, right? So there's less of a forced approach toward the clients. And so what we've seen is over the years, and I'll have to admit that from the infantry of when we started the business, we really went along with what everybody else does, right? Like, okay, I have an approach. I know what I can deliver, but everybody has done it already. So let me tap into that. And we did that, and it was good. It was good. But as the year passed, I realized there were a lot of things that could be adjusted along the journey. Why? Because clients have fears, they have concerns. They don't know who you are when they approach you, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to sign you on a contract for 3 years, right? So who are you? Even if I provide honest reviews and I provide, case studies, it never gives that reassurance and trust to someone that doesn't know you. So, and this is why I call my initial calls with my prospects a date. We're just dating, just trying to figure out who you are, who I am, if you like what you hear, and if you're comfortable with this first call, then we'll move on to the next. And sometimes we dive in, on the details. But to kind of elaborate what I meant between what it is to have a fine dining versus all you can eat, a lot of the MSP models come in and give you this package. And what they deliver is, I'm going to give you unlimited support, all of these stack of solutions. They're theirs. They're not really yours, right? So you're kind of being held hostage in a way. So they give you this entire bundle. And we've learned that this is just not sustainable. You cannot maintain quality of service when you give unlimited of something. It's just not possible. This is not really unlimited internet. This is unlimited quality of service. It just doesn't work that way. And it's not profitable for a business unless, an MSP allocates an agent to you, and then that agent gets burned out, and then they start to leave, and then there's a turnaround. And because our focus is really on the client, on the experience, on what we have to deliver, and because we have such great reputation, we really are focused on our reputation, we realize, okay, well, let's stop all of that nonsense. We go back to our clients and we say, here's what we have to deliver. Let us understand your business model. Here's the baseline of all of the techs you need. It's not even a lot of the time I'm like, well, why? It's not really me. It's just the industry standards. You can't really go against the industry standard when it comes to cybersecurity, implementing the right solution. It's not a want, it's a need. You have to have it, right? So we help them build this baseline. And then based on their model, we build on top and add the layers of technology that they need, but they own them. And so what you have at the end of the day is a full experience. You come in, we service you, and we're really focused on your environment. And if you read a lot of our reviews, a lot of our clients or always come back by saying, listen to what M6 has to say. Why? Because we have nothing to lose. We don't have long-term contracts to get you stuck with us. We have a 60-day cancellation. So if I don't make it work for you, you can fire me. And I only have one option, to make it work, and vice versa for you as well. So we enter this model where it's a two-way relationship. We're in it together. We're going to make it work together, and we're going to work together. And if it doesn't work, well, we depart professionally. And I think I've mentioned it, that sometimes we just have to depart professionally with some clients that just don't align with our vision, or vice versa. We're not aligned with them, but that's okay, right? But there's no feeling of getting stuck. And so what you have is this unlimited support that can be controlled. Quality of service cannot be controlled. Technology implementation is pushed by the MSP, where we come in and we allow the client to elaborate on what their workflow is. If I know how you work, I can tell you what you need, and then we can support you on from there.
I love it. So it sounds like you give the client more control over their domain, their environment, versus what you would typically see where an MSP might typically have control over their client almost, because it's such an area where expertise is required, and these companies don't have that expertise unless they want to hire in-house, which is again a huge cost in itself, right? So it's really interesting how the journey you had when you started versus how you've come to this kind of business model to arrive here. I guess in terms of growing the organization, you've been intentionally keeping M6iT as a boutique firm over the last 13 years. What's driven this decision when most businesses are focused on, especially today, hyperscale and scaling rapidly and that type of stuff? What's keeping you?
Well, It's a very good question. You see, many of the MSPs today are typically looking for an exit strategy, right? So they grow the business, they acquire contracts, they build this model, and their goal is in a few years we'll exit. I didn't really start the business with that mindset, not because I don't want to, just because I didn't start it with that mindset. It's not really driven for me to leave you, my client, when I feel like the company has reached an X level in the industry, right? So it's really not our model, because if I tailor something for you, if I care for you, I can have that mindset coming in this relationship. If you understand the dating, you date, you know each other, and then you build a future together. And that's really the journey that I want our clients to feel. And so I feel that at the end of the day, what we want is absolute transparency with our customers. Allow them to feel comfortable, because we don't want to make them feel that they're locked into anything, because it allows better decision making, right? We don't want them to feel confined in a certain model, because it allows them to adjust the technologies as the industry moves forwards as well. So we want to keep this relationship in a two-way street.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it reminds me of how we approach our relationships with our clients. It's so important to have a partnership approach, right? And in a mutual success. And I love that you mentioned dating as an example of how you would court a new potential client, right? And that's 100%, especially when you're building trust over a long period of time. And within any kind of consulting space, the trust is absolutely paramount before making any kind of decision. You want to build that relationship with the prospect, but also the trust to develop them into a client. So that approach of dating, right, and having those conversations, what does that look like in your typical world of bringing in the ideal client? Because we've had a discussion where previously you mentioned about your high retention rates, and obviously clients don't like to leave you, and you're clearly doing something right. So what is your approach there?
Well, absolute honesty and transparency. There's no magic to it. There really is no magic to it. The reason why we want to stay a boutique, and not staying a boutique in the terms of growth, is we want to keep the boutique feel, because it's an individualized relationship with the client, right? We want our clients to feel unique at all times, right? And in order to do that, there is a lot of work involved in the onboarding process of our customers. We spend, actually, in fact, we are at loss on the onboarding process. We know that. And we are actually telling our clients, we're just covering our costs. Why? Because the onboarding experience and the onboarding process is where everything's going to define where everything's going to happen in the future, right? And how the relationship's going to be in the future. So the better we're good at dealing with the issues, right? Instead of playing, whack-a-mole all day long about problems all day long, we are going to tackle the immediate problems, the primary objectives of what the client needs immediately, initially, and then everything smooths out, right, throughout the journey. And so it's very important for us to have that feeling where our customers are comfortable, really comfortable, because we want to make the right decisions. And in order to make the right decisions, sometimes you need to establish trust. You need to establish accountability. You need to establish productivity. You need to show that to our prospect, right? And so by allowing them to see the vision from day one, day two, day three, or the first month, by nurturing that relationship, I think that there is a faster way of achieving our goals, right? But when you're stuck into a model where I say, I'm going to give you this and give you that, well, do you have the option to say no? Because that's a model that you've bought in. You bought it into a very cookie cutter environment. If tomorrow you hear of a new technology that for your firm and you feel like it's a need for you, well, guess what? You're stuck, because that's what the MSP provides you. But in our model, no, you can adjust as you go. In fact, procurement and license management is an important part of our process, because we want to know what you have and how to go about it. The financials are important, because if we allow you to save you money here, to reallocate it somewhere else, or actually completely save you money, that just builds a better relationship, and we can allow you to allocate your budgets in the right places.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the approach, and I love the difference in the models that you approach to typical MSPs. So tell me, what do you think are the biggest trends currently in the space? What are you seeing at the moment that others may not know? What type of insights can you provide us with?
Everybody else's fear is, cyber threats. But I would say that the trend in our industry is really driven by cybersecurity insurance and cybersecurity environment. So your cyber insurance will almost dictate to you what you must have. And what I want our clients or prospect clients to hear in this call is, a lot of the time you're here, whether it's our company or another, propose a solution. A lot of the time it's a requirement, because if you don't have it and you're intending or protecting your business with cyber insurance, you're not going to meet that. Your premium's going to go up. Your risk is going to be higher, right? So most people run to after cyber insurance, but don't implement the baseline. Guess what? If the insurance is being given to you, but you're not meeting their requirements, what do you think is going to happen when, sorry for saying it on the call, shit hits the fan, right? They're not going to cover you. And that's the idea of the insurance company. It's just not to pay you. So don't give them that chance, and then listen to your IT advisors, listen to your IT professionals, do your due diligence, right? But there is a huge drive today by the cybersecurity insurance that actually demand a standard, demand a baseline, and you should listen to them. People should listen to them.
I think it's really interesting you mentioned there, because cybersecurity is becoming different to what it was 10, 15 years ago, right? Where everyone felt like they had McAfee on their computer and the antiviruses and things like that. The threat is very different now, and it's interesting to see the development of it. But I don't think especially the average person, we don't truly understand what kind of threats there are with cybersecurity. Could you maybe share some of those threats? What is there out there?
Look, I'm going to give you an example of, I do this daily, all right, really daily. But the threats are no longer what they used to be, where they're coming in to break the environment. They don't want to break, they want to steal. And in order to steal, you have to be dormant sometimes. You have to be sitting there monitoring. And most of the time, people focus on themselves. Well, you need to protect yourself against yourself. And I'm trying to elaborate this concept. You're going to put all of the necessary tools to protect your environment. But can you control anyone out there that you're communicating with? You can't. And so what happens now? I sent you an email, Saeed, and I say, hey, we're in the middle of a negotiation and I have this deal. But there are 3, 4, 5 people in that chain of emails, right? And so what bad actors are doing is, if I'm well protected, they're going to figure out a way to attack the outer boundaries, right? And then come back right into you. And something phenomenal that I've seen, and this is a good advice for a lot of the businesses out there, buy multiple variations of your domain. An example, if our domain is m6it.com, I'm going to try to buy the .net, the .co, the .org, the M6iT Consulting. I'm going to buy multiple variations. Why? Because what we have seen is that a lot of the bad actors, once they tap into any chain of communication, they're not going to try to phish you. They're going to try to duplicate your domain with a slight difference and attack your internal employees and use scare tactics to actually ransom you or get information out. And it only takes a very short amount of time for them to accomplish it. So they have their own methods, and they have the right resources, and it's very inexpensive for them to do that, right? So you need to protect yourself against yourself, meaning put all of the tools around yourself, make sure that you have all of the proper resolutions in place. And when it comes to communication, that's the most important point to protect, because that's how it's going to happen. Now, you have deep fake. You have a lot of things that are coming with AI. I can duplicate your voice. I can scare you over the phone. Build processes in place. Don't make any changes to your organization's process unless it's approved and documented, right? Like, what we've seen is, hey, can you change my wire? No, I won't. My process is an internal process. I have to have a phone call. I have to verify. Even that nowadays can be dangerous, because someone calling you can have deepfake voice. How do you know for certain, right? If you don't have the proper procedures in place to protect yourself against yourself, right? Well, you're bound to fail. So I think that they're one of the easiest tips. I mean, most people say, the MFA, strong password. Because you know what? They're not interested in breaking in. They're going to kind of, they're spinning around. There's this little mosquito that just bothers you. It's always spinning around until they find the opportunity to go and hook, and they just suck your blood out. So you have to put the right solutions around and the right procedures in place to protect yourself.
I love it. And I think it's so interesting to hear that, because it's not a simple case of, I'll protect your password, as you've just said there. It's so much more sophisticated now than it's ever been before, especially with the establishment of AI and deepfakes, as you mentioned. Talk to me more about that 2-letter word that everyone's terrified of. It starts with A, ends in I. How is that currently evolving in the space, and how is that changing everything around us?
Look, I mean, I have my views of AI. I think they are smart and as stupid as the people that build them,
Yes.
because the way you feed it is the way that it learns. But I think it's going to add a lot of value to productivity today. I
Mm,
really believe so. I use the Microsoft Copilot simply because I privatize everything that I do. I think it's a great, and there are other tools that will be suitable for different industries and different markets, which is fine. But I truly use it because it helps my productivity today, right?
mm,
On the flip side, while it could potentially help your employees' productivity, your company's overall, bad actors will try to use that against you as well at the same time. And I think that nothing beats, and absolutely nothing beats education. When it comes to AI and threats, I will always tell my client that there's the best investment is educating your employees.
sure. It makes sense though. It makes sense because a lot of the times most people aren't aware of the issues or the threats or what it looks like. And so actually just being, they always say self-awareness allows you to change your behaviors, and just having that education, that awareness allows you to be able to change the behaviors or your automated behaviors to be able to fend off
Yeah.
these kinds of threats. So I love it. I want to talk to you a bit about developing a team and a strong working culture, because as a boutique firm, and you've grown over the last 13 years, it's always a challenge to grow teams and develop a strong culture. Talk to me about your journey in developing a team and the culture within the organization.
Well, I really believe in dedication. There's nothing like a dedicated employee. And what's very important for managers and directors and other people out there to know is that every one of us have different skill sets, right? You need to understand your employee. You need to know their strength. You need to know what they don't like, right? You need to know what they like, and you need to nurture that. And the way to build a strong team, in my opinion, is when you tap into what someone enjoys doing repetitively in a way, right? Because if you're forcing them into a path that they don't enjoy, they're not going to be productive. And they're not just simply going to enjoy what they're doing. You have to add a layer of trust and personalized relationship, right? They need to feel that they feel at home, they're comfortable, that you care for them. An example is, and this is very well known at M6. In fact, our sales teams tend to get a bit scared of me, but anyone or any of our clients that is either disrespectful or not respectful of our employees will be fired. And we have no problem doing it, because to me, our company is run by our employees, and without them, we don't have M6. And if they're not well cared for, well, I don't have a business. And so I want my employee to understand that, and I want my client to understand that. And you know what? 99% of our customers are in line with what we see and what we say, because they can see how much we care for them. So the environment is built in a very trustworthy space where, rarely would you have a manager or a boss say, hey, I think you should just take some time off or just get out of your chair already. I would do that. I would work in the office and say, take a break, get out. I'll force to shut down your computer. I just want you to take a walk, because I put myself in their shoe. I really put myself in their shoe. I know the stress that they go through. It's not easy to be in a service business at all. You have a lot of people that are stressed, and you have a client that has a boss making a request. The employee is not able to fulfill it because the tech is not working. And now you're pushing that stress on the employee. And the employee has to absorb that, solve the problem for you, so you can go back and accomplish what you have to do for your boss, right? So there's a lot of energy that flows. And I always tell my employees, guys, don't take it personally, just take a break and breathe, right? Because sometimes what you see is not really what the person is trying to do to you. It's just that they have the same pressure on top. And then by educating and allowing our employees to feel in a way at home or comfortable in the work environment, that builds that dedication. And that's very valuable to me.
Yeah.
And once I tap into someone that I feel is dedicated and trustworthy, I'll do whatever I can to keep them happy, whatever I can.
That's strong leadership from the sounds of things. And I think that's important to say, because it's very easy to forget, especially when you're going through difficult periods or as the organization is growing or clients have demands, right? As you said, and the mere fact that you're willing to go out there and go, okay, well, if it's unreasonable in the way your client has responded, you will choose your employee first. And that's maybe not a common thing in today's society, in today's world, but it's a testament to your leadership. So it's always
Thank you.
interesting to see that. So in this segment of the podcast, we like to call the Entrepreneur's Room. right? And it's a series of questions we ask all of our guests to give our viewers and listeners an opportunity to understand how business owners and business leaders think and operate in their business. So the first question I'd like to ask at this stage of the podcast is, how are you currently spending your days as a leader of the business?
Doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just come in and do nothing and just start moving things. No, obviously not. But quite frankly, I meditate. I meditate a few times a day. I think it's a very important part of my day. I need to allocate my energy throughout the day. Just like our phones, where we charge them in the morning. If you spend too much time on YouTube, you have nothing else for important phone calls, right? So you're going to have to recharge. But I try to focus on spreading my energy throughout the day, right? And making sure that I have time for a different part of my day, whether it's work, family, meditation, and other aspect of the day, which is crucial to my mindset so I can stay very focused on my client. But typically, I enter my day with a stand-up meeting. Aside from the regular meeting, we have a stand-up meeting early in the morning where we all talk about the upcoming day, projects, issues, immediate requests, and everybody collaborates and talks. And it's a very, very important part of our day. I think it's one of the best because there is an indirect training that happens across, right? Because everybody's sharing ideas and knowledge and solutions in this. And so you can see this arrows going back in different direction. And that's a great part of knowledge sharing, right? And it immediately happens. I get booked throughout the day for advisory and calls, like literally just get books and books and books. Around 2:00 noon, same thing happens, but I'm not part of these calls, but I tend to go back in and review. The rest of my day is just sitting down and focusing on what I have to accomplish after that. And I finish my day, at least, I finish my day either calling my kids or talking to my kids, because that's the highlight for me. I can't really give an answer that is suitable to anyone. You really have to find what makes your day. You just have to figure it out. So for me, it's meditation, family time, allocating the right energy in the right places at work, understanding where your employees are. We have a monthly powwow in our firm, for example, where we get together, sit down and drink and talk just to let it out, right? We have a monthly regroup where I try my best to talk to every one of the employees at least for half an hour, at least once a month and every 2 months if I can, because I just want them to feel that, hey, I'm here for you and I want to know if there's anything I can give you. It's a very, very important part because it makes your employees feel that they're heard or known, right? And we're not that big yet where I can't do that, even though I have managers that would typically do the same things and vice versa, right? The direct report. But it's a very important part of the journey.
I love it. And I think it's such an interesting, you're the first guest that we've had that said that they meditate on a daily basis. And I think that's brilliant. It's clearly your energy is important to manage, and finding a way to be able to, business is hard at the end of the day. There's a lot of things going, especially a service business, as you mentioned, but all types of business. There's a lot of pressure involved, especially being a leader in the business and being I think it was a Jeff Bezos quote that said that his job as the CEO of the business is to make one or two very high level decisions correctly, right? And he has to be able to have the right level of energy throughout the day so that when that critical time comes, he's able to make the right types of decisions. So I absolutely love what you said there. In terms of as a business, obviously you mentioned you're a boutique firm, you're looking to grow, obviously there's other things involved, but what are the most important metrics for you as a leader of the business, looking at the business on a regular basis?
Client satisfaction and growth. And they're both connected in our business. If I don't have satisfied clients, I cannot grow. And I cannot grow if I don't have satisfied clients. Because an unsatisfied client means that it's going to absorb a lot of energies, a lot of issues, a lot of ongoing things that we take resources away from the growth. And I think these are the two aspects of our business, especially in the service business, that I'm really focused on.
Absolutely. I love that. Especially in the service business, a lot of growth comes from referrals and word of mouth, right? And so if you do a good job, you're more likely to get that growth, as you mentioned there. So I love that. How are you currently growing the business? What kind of business development activities, sales, marketing activities are you currently doing to grow the business as a leader?
So just like everybody else, we use social media platforms. We use, sales outreach to try to tap into our network. But what I find to be most successful, honestly, is when we're able to find a client that has an actual need, right, that we can fill. And when that happens, the relationship is built immediately. So we use the typical channels, right? The marketing firms that we work with, or whether it's a third party, sometimes it's a combination of a third party as well as an internal team that we work with. And I will not say that there's just one way to do it, because over the past 3 years, we've adjusted our tactics, right? As the industry changes. I'm not a big fan of social media. It's just my nature. But I've realized, hey, I'm missing on it, right? And I've been told many times, and I finally listened to my advisors. The same way I expect my clients to listen to my advice, I have to listen to my partners and their advice as well, right? Otherwise, it just doesn't add up. And so you have to take a step back, review strategies, and work on them and see what's successful and measure them, really just measure each time you're engaged in a campaign. Try to measure that campaign success, return on investment, who you're working with. And a lot of the times, I'll be very honest, there's no success, but that's not bad. We don't get anything, but that's not bad, because in that campaign, something happened that will teach you how to do it better or how adjusting it. And so most people immediately expect results. I started this campaign, I want this lead and that lead. And like, listen, you can be a hamster on the wheel. And I'm going to give the example of fast food versus fine dining. You pick, right? You can run around eating because you have a time limit and a price, or you can focus on nurturing that relationship. So you have to find the right partners in the right place to do it.
Love it. I love it. And I love that what you said in terms of sometimes people do think that as soon as you bring marketing into the fray, you just turn the tap on and it works magically. And sometimes that does happen, right? But very rarely is that the case. More often than not, you come with a concept, you come with an idea, you arrive at it, you build it out. It might not go well, but you take the learnings you have and you optimize, right? And those
Correct.
optimizations massively change your direction. Because the analogy I always like to give is it's like a golf swing, right? An inch can change the complete direction of landing, the trajectory of where the ball lands. Just an inch in your swing. And that's exactly what you're constantly doing when you're running a campaign, is going, okay, we learned here, let's move it slightly towards this way. Eventually you find that line, the direction, the winning campaign, as we like to say, which then results in the success that others have experienced.
I want to add something, because,
Sure.
we've done it all. You have the Google ads, you have this one, this, and this one there, and this one, that, and you can do this. But how do you measure these successes? You need to know companies need to know what they're selling. They need to understand their product very carefully. They need to understand what their return is on the product. And at the end of the day, you just have to allocate time and budget for that campaign. But just like, it's almost like an investment. Everyone would tell you, once you invest in the stock market, assume it lost.
Yeah.
Right? So, but no one's going to go investing in a stock market without really doing their own homework. Do you know what I mean? The mentality is, don't sit there, keep looking at the numbers and expect it to go up and down. No, you're going to do your homework. You're going to do your study. You're going to figure out what you want to invest in, but you're going to have to assume it lost so that you can focus your energy on other things. And I feel like it's the same thing in marketing. I'm not saying you're going to assume it lost, but you have to do your homework. You have to figure it out. And once you invest into it, let it go. Let it go so you can go back and focus on the business. But more importantly, when you do let it go, make sure that the person you're giving it to has the qualifications to actually handle it on their own. That's Absolutely. Really the bottom of it.
Yeah. Trust but verify, always, right?
Right. That's right.
Love it. You've been running the organization, as we mentioned, 13 years now, going strong. I'm sure you've had many lessons along the way, many failures and mistakes made. What's the biggest lesson you can share with us today to the viewers and listeners? And I'm sure there's many, but what's the best one and the biggest one?
I wish I could say his name on this call, but I can't.
Sure.
I can't, because it's now a friend of mine. It's someone that I worked with on a very large project, and I've learned a lot from him. Usually when you have a lot of experience, you tend to think that you know a lot. Yeah. And it's true, you do know a lot, but there's always something to learn. And this gentleman helped me take a step back, which was just enough for me to satisfy the request. And I know it's not very specific. I'm trying to measure my words, but an example is when a client comes to you and asks for something, even though you're 100% sure of the answer, and you know that it might be wrong, and you might know that what they're asking is not doable, listen, absorb, right? And then take a step back. And even if you come back with something that might not be 100% what they want, There is something there that you're going to deliver where you're going to learn and they're going to gain. And that really kind of a big lesson for me is always take a step back when dealing with difficult situations. Don't immediately assume that you know because you have X years of experience. Be a good listener because it really changes the dynamic of your relationship with the client. And I can honestly tell you, I could have told that person, you don't know squat what we were saying right now. You're wrong. And I'm right because I know better and this is my industry. And I took a step back and I said, you know what? Let me just hear how far this is going to go. And when I came back to him with somewhat of a satisfactory answer, everybody was happy. And I learned from it. I really learned from it just because I just took a step back. It was a big change in the way I was. Sometimes you get comfortable in what you know and you think that you have all of the answers, but especially in tech, you deal with a lot of geeks, you deal with a lot of people that build the environment and that's their baby. Take a step back out there. For all of the techies, take a step back, listen. Just take a step back and listen because there's something you're going to learn that's going to change the way, the dynamics of the relationship with either your clients or your boss, and stay honest.
Love it. Love it. It's been an absolute fantastic conversation, Jacob. I like to end every single podcast with the same question. And that is, if you had a magic wand you could wave to solve one business problem, what would that be?
I wish I could give you a straight answer, but I don't have one. I'm still in my journey.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm sure I can learn from a lot of other successful men, but I honestly don't have a direct answer. But my answer is I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'm excited about it.
Lovely, lovely. Jacob, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for the insights that you were able to share today. It's
My
been
pleasure.
A real joy. So for all those out there that wants to reach out, how would they find you? Where would they go?
M6IT.com is our 4-letter company site, M6IT. Some might think that it's MI6. Well, good for you. Some of them are going to think M16. Good for you, as long as you remember it. But it's M6IT.com. We're out there. We're nationwide. Would love to know what people have out there for us to solve for them and work with.
Amazing. Jacob, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Same here. I very much appreciate your time, Saeed. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.